Imagine a world at peace. The year is 1939. Children laugh as they play in sun-drenched fields. Birds sing in the trees. Families gather for picnics, their laughter echoing through the warm summer air. Life is simple, beautiful, and full of hope. But a storm is brewing. Far away in the halls of power, darkness is gathering. The seeds of hatred and intolerance are being sown. This tranquility will not last. In the heart of Europe, a malevolent force is rising. A force that threatens to shatter the peace and plunge the world into chaos. This force is Adolf Hitler and his Nazi regime, driven by a twisted ideology of hate and a lust for power. Their ambition knows no bounds, their hunger for conquest insatiable. Across Europe and Asia, the world watches, some with apprehension, others with indifference. They do not yet know the horrors that await. They do not yet know that the world is about to change forever. This is the story of that change, a journey through the darkest chapters of human history, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and a call for peace that echoes through the ages. The 1930s saw the rise of totalitarian regimes across Europe and Asia. In Germany, Adolf Hitler and his Nazi party, fueled by a toxic blend of nationalism, racism and anti-Semitism, seized power, promising to restore Germany to its former glory. In Italy, Benito Mussolini, a charismatic dictator, established a fascist state, crushing dissent and glorifying war. In Japan, militarists, hungry for empire, tightened their grip on power, setting their sights on expansion across Asia. These dictators, driven by a lust for power and a disdain for peace, stoked the flames of fear and resentment. They exploited economic hardship and political instability to consolidate their power, promising their people prosperity and greatness while silencing all opposition. They rearmed their nations, violating treaties and threatening their neighbors. The world watched, many hoping that war could be averted, but the march towards conflict had begun. On September 1st, 1939, the world watched in horror as the German war machine, with terrifying speed and ferocity, unleashed its fury upon Poland. The invasion of Poland marked the beginning of World War II, a global conflict that would engulf the world in flames for 6 long years. The Nazi blitzkrieg, a new form of warfare combining tanks, planes and infantry, smashed through Polish defenses, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. Polish soldiers, though outnumbered and outgunned, fought bravely in defense of their homeland. But the Nazi war machine was relentless. Cities were bombed, villages were razed, and civilians were caught in the crossfire. The Polish people, facing unimaginable brutality, showed remarkable courage and resilience. But within weeks, Poland was overrun, divided between Germany and the Soviet Union, who had signed a pact of non-aggression just weeks before the war. Following the fall of Poland, the war raged on in Europe. In the spring of 1940, German forces swept through Denmark and Norway, then turned their attention to France. The Battle of France was a swift and decisive victory for the Nazis, who conquered the country in just 6 weeks. With France defeated, Great Britain stood alone against the Nazi war machine. In the summer of 1940, the Battle of Britain began. For months, the Luftwaffe, the German Air Force, subjected London and other British cities to relentless bombing raids. The Blitz, as it came to be known, was a campaign of terror designed to break the spirit of the British people. Night after night, bombs rained down from the sky, reducing buildings to rubble and killing thousands of civilians. Section 5, the Eastern Front, a struggle for survival. In June 1941, Hitler broke his pact with Stalin, unleashing the full fury of the Nazi war machine upon the Soviet Union. Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union, was the largest military operation in human history. Millions of German soldiers poured across the Soviet border, clashing with the Red Army in a brutal conflict that would claim millions of lives. The Eastern Front was a theater of unimaginable brutality. The fighting was fierce, the conditions were horrific, and both sides committed atrocities. Soviet soldiers and civilians alike endured unimaginable suffering. They faced a brutal enemy, a harsh winter, and a desperate shortage of food, medicine, and ammunition. Yet they fought on with incredible courage and determination, fueled by a burning desire to defend their homeland. Section 6, A Day of Infamy, Pearl Harbor. On December 7, 1941, the course of the war changed forever. Japanese forces launched a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, the home of the U.S. Pacific Fleet. The attack on Pearl Harbor was a devastating blow to the United States, sinking or damaging 18 warships and killing over 2,400 Americans. The attack on Pearl Harbor shocked the American people and galvanized the nation. The following day, President Franklin D. Roosevelt addressed Congress, declaring war on Japan. Yesterday, December 7, 1941, a date which will live in infamy, the United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan, Roosevelt declared. With those words, the United States entered World War II, transforming the conflict into a truly global war. Section 7, Operation Overlord. The tide turns. By 1944, the tide of the war had begun to turn. Soviet forces were pushing back the Germans in the east, and the Allies were gaining ground in North Africa and Italy. On June 6, 1944, the long-awaited invasion of Western Europe began. Operation Overlord, better known as D-Day, was the largest amphibious invasion in history. Over 150,000 Allied troops landed on the beaches of Normandy, France, facing fierce resistance from German defenders. The fighting on D-Day was brutal, with thousands of soldiers killed or wounded. But the Allies persevered, establishing a foothold in France and beginning the long and bloody campaign to liberate Western Europe. Section 8, The Atomic Dawn, a new era of warfare. By the summer of 1945, Germany had been defeated, but the war in the Pacific raged on. In a desperate attempt to force Japan's surrender, the United States took the unprecedented step of using atomic bombs. On August 6, 1945, an American B-29 bomber dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima, Japan. The Hiroshima bombing was a tragedy of unimaginable proportions. The bomb instantly killed an estimated 80,000 people, and tens of thousands more died in the weeks and months that followed from radiation sickness and other injuries. 3 days later, on August 9, 1945, the United States dropped a second atomic bomb, this time on the city of Nagasaki, Japan. The Nagasaki bombing killed an estimated 40,000 people. Section 9. Scars of War. The aftermath. On August 15, 1945, Japan surrendered, bringing an end to World War II. The war had left an indelible mark on the world. Tens of millions of people had been killed, entire cities lay in ruins, and the global economy was in shambles. The war had also unleashed the terrifying power of the atom, ushering in the nuclear age and casting a long shadow over the future. In the aftermath of the war, the world grappled with the enormity of the loss and the challenges of rebuilding. The Nuremberg trials were held to hold Nazi leaders accountable for their crimes, and the United Nations was founded in the hope of preventing future wars. Section 10, A Fragile Peace, Rebuilding and Remembering. The post-war years were a time of both hope and uncertainty. The world was rebuilding, but the Cold War, a geopolitical rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union, created new tensions and divisions. Despite the challenges, there was a collective determination to learn from the mistakes of the past and create a better future. The Marshall Plan, a US-led effort to rebuild war-torn Europe, helped to foster economic recovery and stability. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, adopted by the United Nations in 1948, affirmed the fundamental rights and freedoms of all human beings. Section 11, Lest We Forget, a call for unity and peace. World War II was a stark reminder of the human capacity for both good and evil. It was a time of unimaginable suffering, but it was also a time of extraordinary courage, resilience, and sacrifice. The stories of those who lived through the war, the soldiers who fought, the families who endured, the survivors who rebuilt, serve as a testament to the strength of the human spirit. As we remember the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II, let us honor the sacrifices of those who came before us by striving for peace, understanding, and cooperation. Let us learn from the mistakes of the past and work together to build a world where such horrors are never repeated. Let us embrace unity over division, compassion over hate, and hope over fear. The future we create is up to us. Let us choose peace,